All right, so all of you guys are concerned about where the industry is going when it comes to new menu innovation, and one of them is talking about alternative proteins. And today we're going to get a chance to explore all of that. My name is Paul Barron, and this is the Barron Report. Great to see you guys back here, and today we're going to kind of go a little different direction when it comes to protein. You see us talk about plant-based a lot. We go down the rabbit hole when it talks about the alternatives out there, from cell-based agriculture to, complete revolutions in, plant-based beef alternatives. But today's a little different. This one is actually a completely different spin. With me today, I've got Rachel Vizman, who is the co-founder and CEO of SavorEat's. Now, you guys are a 3D printing outfit for alternative proteins. Rachel, please tell us a little bit about SavorEat's.
Yes, so thank you. It's great to be here. What we are doing at SavorEat's, and we try to take you into an imagination situation. So try to imagine a world where you can create variety of delicious product, tasty meat with no cholesterol, without any pangs of conscience, that it can be even personalized to fit your preferences, your need, your passion. And all of that can be easily prepared just with the push of a button. So we at SavorEat's are using unique and proprietary technology in order to recreate unique texture, unique mouthfeel, and unique experience of meat by using plant-based ingredients, unique plant-based ingredients, and 3D printing technology.
Interesting.
Not just allows us to recreate the texture, but at the same time allows us not just to create a product, but at the same time to cook it, to grill it, or even to bake it. So at the end of the process, the product that is coming out from the system is ready to be consumed.
So I just want to make sure I've got this right. This is a product that at the end of the 3D print process, you're saying that it's ready to eat at that time?
Yeah, you can choose. You can take it raw or you can take it grilled, but the entire systems can create it for you, can manufacture it, and at the same time can grill it.
Oh, okay, I see. All right, so very interesting. Now, of course, this kind of goes along with where a lot of specialty food manufacturers run into big hurdles is in the extrusion process, when you want to get it into a form factor. And the extrusion process, in many cases, for our listeners out there, if you guys are thinking about starting up an alternative product, food product out there, that's one of the most expensive areas. It's why co-packers exist, because they usually have it. And they can make your hot dog look like a hot dog or your beef patty look like a beef patty. You're talking about actually printing this and creating it through an injection 3D system. Does it work like a normal 3D printer? Like what we would see out there?
It's not a normal 3D manufacturer. At the end, I would claim that we are not just based on 3D printing. The main idea of the company is not just using the 3D, but using a very unique and proprietary derivative of cellulose, which is the most abundant substance on Earth. So we have invented a new way to create a unique derivative which made this cellulose an excellent binder with self-assembly properties, which allows us to create a very stable dish. And if you talk about emulsion and we want to create a texture and extrusion, most of the industry are using today gluten together with protein and trying to extrude it using a huge extruder. And as you said, it's relatively costly. So what we have invented, not just related to the 3D, but what we have invented is a unique mini extrusion head that, combining the protein, any kind of protein, together with this unique derivative of cellulose, we can create variety of texture with much less energy, much less cost than all the other alternatives that are currently in the market.
Right.
So it's a 3D printing. It's unique ingredients, a unique extrusion head that is part of the proprietary of the company, and we also have an automatic heating sources that can also allow us to grill it. So it's not a regular 3D printing. I would call it, it's more like an automated robot that can create manufacture it and cook it and get you the right experience like a real meat.
Interesting. Okay, so with the so this obviously is an equipment process. Is this something that resides in a facility that's ultra large? What kind of space are you guys taking up to be able to do something like this right now?
It's relatively small. It's like 1 meter as a size. The first product that we are aiming to penetrate to the market is going to the B2B industry in food services such as restaurant, burger joint, institutional kitchen, where you can create up to 8 products simultaneously with a period of 6 minutes, where you can create it and cook it simultaneously, while each one of the product can have a different composition, different texture, different size, and different cooking preferences.
Right.
So we are not going into the mass scale production at that time, although we can do that, but I don't think that we have additional, if you compare the entire 3D printing technology to the current technology, it's a relatively slow process. So trying to face with getting into the area where you're using 3D for mass manufacturing, you are losing your main benefit, which is personalization.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Getting texture.
Yeah, and in reality, by going down to the B2B category, you're selling the machines themselves and then basically providing the product to be able to go through the machines. So it's HP all over. When you think about how they scaled down printing the office printers all the way down to it, so it pretty much eliminated the need for someone like a Kinko's or anything like that were doing high scale printing. So it's same format in the sense of, let's talk a little bit more about the cellulose product, because that's obviously the binder and also part of the consumption agent that consumers are going to eventually have in their food. Talk to me about that. How much do you guys have to go through a lot of hoops in terms of USDA or FDA kind of regulations? Where is that going from this side of it in terms of supplying the raw or the base material?
Good question. So we are using ingredient that already been approved by the FDA, and we are using GRAS. They have a GRAS recognition. So what we are using it, and we have invented a mechanical process, which we're not using any other regular manufacturing process that already approved by the FDA, and we are using very unique derivative, which we believe, based on the support and the assistance that we received from regulatory experts, that we won't need any additional regulatory hurdles than all the others products that are currently approved by the market.
What are some of the products approval categories? If you're saying the FDA has already approved some of your base products, where are those products being used today?
Cellulose is almost in every product that you can think of, because methyl cellulose it's already been approved, and MCC, which is also been approved by the FDA as GRAS and also in Europe since 1973, and there is a lot of information about these ingredients, and it's almost everywhere. Each product almost are using cellulose.
So you've had just a small derivative to be able to utilize it through the 3D printer or the extrusion machine, and I'm assuming to create a bonding agent so that you can have a product on the other side. Okay. Interesting.
But also to create, it's very interesting that it's not just about binding, it's also about creating a texture and creating a mouthfeel. We can create variety of texture by using this ingredient, from texture that feel like jelly to texture that feel like bone. By adjusting the process, by adjusting its water content, we can even control the texture that we are using, that we can get from using this ingredient. And this is with zero cholesterol, no gluten, and it's also probiotic fiber. So we get something back by using this system.
So as far as a flavor profile, is that something that the user can completely create on the fly and using plant-based ingredients, like say I want a black bean or a beet or something of that nature, to integrate that in? If I've got a recipe for a certain type of plant-based product that I particularly like because of its flavor profile, I combine that up with your agent and your machine, and now I've got a product on the other side that has that potentially that flavor profile. Is that how it works?
For the first version of the product, we are aiming to provide the customer the opportunity to adjust the protein and the fat composition. So meaning that we will provide you with the menu where you can decide whether you want 80% protein or 25% protein or more fat or less fat. That will, and the cooking preferences. In the next versions of the product, we will provide you with additional selection that you can adjust. But we are trying to be very focused and to be to bring the first product to the market and then to adjust it based on the customer's wants and needs.
Interesting. Where do you think consumer adoption will fall? Because we're seeing consumer adoption when it comes to the generic plant-based products somewhat popular, even though it's still a very small market. At least it's considerably larger than what it was just 5 years ago. So there has been a certain amount of adoption and consumer acceptance. Do you feel like something like this will fit in nicely with what consumers think of how food should be produced?
I truly believe that it's going to disrupt the market in terms of, as you said, it's already been acceptable by the consumers that consuming plant-based and consuming meat alternative can be good as meat. And we can find, the flexitarian group, which, is like something like 30% of the US population, the people that are actively trying to incorporate plant-based, are trying and tasting the new product like Impossible Burger and Beyond Meat that did a great job in educating the market. So for us, they prepared us the opportunity to bring a new product, the next generation of plant-based that can also answer additional needs and wants. So we are I think that this is just the beginning. As you just say that the plant-based meat are now just taking about 1% from the market of the meat from the meat market, and it's expected to grow by 2029 to 10% of the global meat manufacturing process. So
interesting.
We have enough room for many players to get in and to get the consumption and to get an acceptance of the product.
Yeah, and I think your approach to it of producing the machines down at the B2B level, or I guess B2C level almost, what you're saying is your individual equipment and process would drop into a restaurant or a hotel or a medical facility that's serving their own product or their own foods. And with that kind of approach, you're completely eliminating the scalability issue that most manufacturers face when you get into large-scale manufacturing of trying to produce product, for resale through distribution or something of that nature. Was that kind of the plan all along, or was this something you guys kind of developed and looked at the equipment itself and its limitations or its opportunity that kind of made you go that way?
I think it's an opportunity-based solution, because at the end, we are trying to understand who are the players and how can you differentiate yourself from all the current players that are currently in the market, and trying to provide by providing additional benefits to your customers. So there is big players, Beyond Meat, Impossible, Tyson Food, JBS, great company that are getting into the retailer scales where they are trying to provide their own delicious and tasty product in the retailers. Why we believe the way that by doing and by the ability to grill the product simultaneously and providing the personalizations possibilities in the way we are trying to differentiate ourselves from all the other players and trying to create a premium approach where we will not have a direct competition with all the big players as of today. So this is a strategic thinking more than, we can go into the retailers and we can try to manufacture large scales of meat alternative by using our technology, but then we will lose some of our benefits, which we believe can contribute dramatically to our success. So again, we are still a startup. and we need to scale up the capabilities. Going into the retailers and trying to scale it up fast can be a little bit problematic for a startup company. So you're trying to do something good and to win, and then to add on top of that additional opportunities and additional markets such as the retailers.
Yeah. Is there a plan to license this technology or license the substrate or the material makeups
Yes,
into food service manufacturing?
definitely. And we already started a few discussions with giants, food giants, to accelerate it, definitely.
Yeah, I think that would be, well, obviously, there's going to have to be a lot of solutions. It's something I argue a lot with, how we're going to feed the planet in 2 decades. And most of those discussions, really come up around scale, scalability of both, right now we're looking at the US, the UK, and most of Western civilization that mostly consumes at least animal proteins, to be able to move those markets to a large percentage of plant-based proteins, scalability is going to be a very critical thing that has to occur. And I think that's the thing that, I always it seems is that there's very few companies that have even reached someone to the level of like a Beyond Meat, who still struggles with just supply chain, issues. So it's still very early. True, but you're being able to scale over the next 2 decades is really kind of the big question because who's going to be able to do that? Yeah.
Also to scale, and also to add additional alternative, to add additional solution. I believe that once we will get the right experience of eating meat and get additional benefit, and it will be part of our passion to consume plant-based, and since we will have a variety of options, variety of delicious product, I believe that we will also increase the consumption. But definitely, we all, the entire industry, the entire food industry, need to think out of the box and trying to identify additional solution. And I would like to add, in terms of the supply chain, something that is very interesting about our product is by using this unique derivative of cellulose, we can take it and put it in an autoclave processes, which you can sterilize the product and keep it in an aseptic way where you can leave the ingredient itself for up to 6 months in room temperature. We don't need to refrigerate it. We don't need to transfer it in refrigerated processes. So it's also simplifying the supply chain as a whole. So you can have inventory, large inventories that can stay in room temperature, and you don't need to also invest in terms of energy, and relatively simplifies the supply chain.
Yeah, well, that's a carbon footprint hit for sure in that kind of scenario, especially if it can go that long. Very interesting that the product has shelf stability at that level. When you look at restaurant operators, one of the things chefs and even small chains or mid-size and large chains look at is usually their creativity around their menu. Do you feel like the acceptance, consumers, let's say there is some pull-through demand from consumers, much like what Beyond Meat got, because I think a lot of restaurant operators question whether or not that product would make it, and obviously it has, and it worked because of Beyond Meat's pull-through strategy through retail that helped that happen. I'm kind of curious, when you get into the B2B space, or a restaurant operator or a chef, someone like that, who says, hey, I'm going to put a 3D printer in my restaurant and print out your ribeyes or your plant-based ribeye, do you feel like they're going to be able to accept and kind of innovate off of that? Have you talked to many operators about how this might work in the future?
Yeah, so the answer is definitely yes. One of our partners, our design partners, are the largest burger joint in Israel that have more than 100 branches. They call BBB, which is definitely, for them, it's a unique way to answer customers' demand by providing them with innovating solution. They can, using this system, you can create a new sensation or a new composition relatively easy with no human touch. This is completely a closed system that can create variety of textures, variety of composition, variety of cooking preferences, and then you can get different sensation that you couldn't do by just playing by chef.
Yeah.
So it's relatively definitely going to innovate much more faster, because when you're going to a restaurant, you would like to try something new, something that you can get at home. So this is definitely a platform that can allow them to innovate faster. It's a closed system with no human touch. When you're talking about today the corona and the pandemic in general, there is no human touch in this machine. The machine is just, in the end, it's a code with an application that you can use. The application, you can select from the application exactly the menu that you would like, the dish that you would like to create, and adjust it. Push the button, within 6 minutes you have variety of products. So it's definitely and relatively fast. In terms of labor cost, again, you don't need a lot. You can save in labor cost. In terms of consistency, if you have a change of restaurant, for instance, and you invented a new dish, and you have it in Tel Aviv, and you have it in London, and you have it in the US, you can get the same product over and over and over and over again. And this is really important for a change of restaurants, to get it very accurate with much less cost, with much of labor cost. So it's also really helping, in terms of, if you want to be profitable in restaurants, you need to save on cost or to increase your revenue. So by providing this solution like SavorEat's, we can save costs and we can also increase the revenue, because for the first time, when you're going to a restaurant, a vegan that are going to a restaurant, or people that are, can consume gluten, for instance, for the first time, the restaurant can say, okay, this is gluten-free, this is with no allergenics, with zero cholesterol, and it's vegan, without being scared that we question regarding the reliability is not existing in this solution.
Yeah, so I definitely see the food safety benefits and the scalability in terms of consistency, for sure. I'm kind of curious. I was looking at your website on Savor-eat.com. Is the burger that's on that homepage a product that came out of your process?
Yeah. This is the ingredients that came out from our own system, our machines, the extrusion that we are using, the unique textures that we are using. It's definitely something that...
It looks very appetizing,
It's really good, it's really tasty. We still want to improve it, definitely. And we are working on it. We just recently completed a round, and we are about to complete additional round within the coming days. And within a year, we will be ready to start a pilot. And Israel is going to be the first country to be exposed to 3D printing.
Yeah, it sounds great. Are you guys based in Israel, or do you have a U.S. base here?
No, we still located here in Israel. The entire R&D teams are here in Israel, but we have plans to go through the U.S. as well.
Interesting. Okay. Well, it's great having you on the show, Rachel Vizman
from
SavorEat's. Yeah, thank you for stopping in.
Thank you.
All right. So as you guys can see, we're covering a lot of varied topics here on the Barron Report. When you look at innovation, kind of the food technology that's really hitting the ground in the market, what we are seeing is a lot of new innovation that's starting to come into play, both from a distribution standpoint, of how people are getting food out to consumers, especially because of the online ordering, takeout, curbside, all those kinds of features that are kind of shifting the restaurant industry. There's a lot to be watching. We're going to be covering a lot of that here on the Barron Report in future episodes, so make sure and stay tuned. Also, we've got a session, virtual sessions, coming up very soon. Be on the lookout for them. It's Food Tech 21. Just go to foodabletv.com. You'll be able to see a lot more information about that. And of course, if you guys have a great idea for something that should hit the Barron Report, make sure and shoot that over to producer@foodabletv.com. Lastly, hit me up on Twitter @PaulBarron, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Barron Report.